How's everybody doing? My apologies for coming in a little late today. I promise you that was not on the agenda, but y'all know that's how sometimes things go. My son is saying hello. All right, let's get straight into today because this one is good and this one hits a little different. Some children fight to go to school. Let that sit for a moment. They fight for the right to read, to write, to learn. Malala Yousafzai was shot for being young and noble and wanting to pursue her education. Shot because she believed literacy was not optional, it was power. Welcome back to the Literacy Reset 30 Days of Raising Architects. Today, we reset perspective because literacy is not just about academics, it's also about courage. All right, let's get into it. Her story is one that is remarkable. And so I want to make sure that I give it the context that it deserves and the clarity that we all should be thinking about, especially in times like this. Malala grew up in Pakistan, where the Taliban began banning girls from attending school. Many families were afraid. Schools were threatened, bombed, and closed. But Malala continued speaking publicly about the importance of girls' education. She wrote, she advocated, and she refused to stay silent. In 2012, she was shot in the head by a Taliban gunman on her way home from school, and she survived. After recovering, she continued her advocacy. She addressed the United Nations. She co authored a memoir. She became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate in history. She risked her life for something that we take for granted every day, and that was literacy. Not for grades, not for transcripts, but for access, for voice, and for agency. Before I get into the principle, I want to share a quick story of my own, right? And so, uh, during my time of being in school, I have to say I did not go to school for education. A lot of people think that I did, or they assume that I did, but I did not. I went to school for political science and then for international affairs and foreign policy. And at my time of studying in my UN program, that is how I birthed Reading for Smiles in the first place. And I started with a study. Well, I didn't start with a study, but I was concluding with a study uh, around girls trying to go to school in Uganda, right? I had never been to Uganda. I only knew all of the information that I was able to take in. And then, as God so would have it, in 2018, I was able to go to Uganda, serve education in Uganda, and bond with little girls and stuff that were at the school that I was assisting, right? And so the program that I was with was fortunate where we would train and work with teachers, and was training and working aside a principal who was leading. And so shout out to Moses because Top Hill School is phenomenal. Top Hill Primary is their name, and they're in Uganda. And it was a wonderful experience. I loved the team there and everything. And to see the shift of something of a land I did not know anything about other than through reading it, um, 15 years prior, right? To go there and then to be able to do the work on the ground was a full, complete 360 for me. And the things that I saw with the way they honored school and they didn't take anything like it for granted. And I feel like, sometimes here we take a lot of things for granted, right? Electricity, running water, all of the things. And so when I learned of Malala's story, because I do remember her speaking at the UN, um, it hit home then, just as it hits home today, about how we shouldn't take anything for granted and how our rights to literacy is how I got on this path in the first place, right? I truly believed and still do that it is a gateway and an opener and an education as an advocate, right, for a better life, because literacy is such a huge gap. And when it's open the way it has been, depending on where you are, where you live, it doesn't even matter the country, because all of these nations have gaps, that we take it seriously because it can end poverty. And knowledge is something that once we have it, no one can take away from you. And so as I sat with this one and I knew she was coming up, it's her and a few others who really tugs at my heart and reminded me why I was in this space from the very beginning. And it was to advocate for children like Malala, children like myself, and so many others who have very unique stories about what it was to get an education, fight for a quality education, and let alone access. And so today's principle is literacy creates agency, right? And sorry, because I didn't even realize I wasn't moving the screen. Hold on, you guys. Let me. Oh. So, when you can read, you can access knowledge. When you can write, you can influence thought. When you can articulate your ideas, you can shape conversations. And I would even say you can help shape policy, but that's me pushing the envelope. But it is very, very true. Malala understood something many of us forget. Education is not just preparation for a career, it's preparation for participation. Literacy gives children the ability to question injustice, analyze information, communicate clearly, and advocate confidently. Without literacy, voice weakens. With literacy, voice strengthens. In many parts of the world, education is fragile. In your home, it is accessible. That is not small, that is sacred. I think that, again, it's the small things that we take for granted. Um, and the opportunity, right, to have books, access to online books. Shout out to Epic, who is a great online platform for books that will read aloud and books that your child can be on a tablet or even a phone to read, right? Shout out to Scholastic, who would do donations throughout our country here in America, um, and making sure our young ones have access to books for free to read. When I think of what's going to be the application out of this is where I'm going to say how we apply this reset. One, connect literacy to real world impact. Two, ask your child what issues matter to you. What problems do you notice? What would you change? Then build reading and writing around those interests. Now, I've been saying for the last 6 days, include their interests in their learning. You don't have to fight with them about doing math if it's already geared towards a topic that they're interested in. And some may say, well, that's not how it's going to be, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Because you're teaching from home, or if you're teaching as a tutor, or if you're teaching as their teacher on the side for extra help during the day or during the afternoon or during recess, utilize things that they're very interested in. One, it allows them to know that they have been seen and heard. Two, it allows for you to actually make a bond and connect with them. We're learning together, right? And then three, it allows them to practice the skill that they need to master. Don't discount interests. When it comes to writing, you can build opinion writing around their interests. You can research things around their interests. And you can even allow them to give a speech about something they are interested in. Because if they have to speak it, they have to write it. And something I always tell the children is reading and writing are cousins, right? If I don't say they're siblings, I'll say that they're cousins. And they like to hang out together. And so it needs to be, for that relationship to work, we need to have a strong dynamic. They need to be close. Literacy becomes powerful and purposeful when we connect it to a purpose. Next, teach persuasive writing. Help your child form a clear thesis, support with evidence, anticipate counter arguments, and conclude with clarity. These skills build intellectual confidence. When I teach opinion writing, I love to make children list out things on both sides of the fence. So if we have a topic such as pizza makes a great snack for after school, we're going to write all the reasons why we think that is true. And then we're going to write all the reasons why we think it's not true. I have trained my babies to go ahead and look at things from both sides of the fence. That's probably my government political analytical mind running in the background, right? Because in those type of situations, when it comes to government matters and we're talking about global leadership, you have to look at all the pros and the cons of out of all the situations. And so I apply that into my teaching when it comes to the opinion writing. And then for every one of these details, right? Because now I'm going to say, well, whatever is on your list for pros and whatever is on your list for cons are just details. Now you need to support those details. And everyone has to have a minimum of 5 details on each side, and then write the actual supporting information, at least 3 to 4 sentences to support that detail. By the time they are done, they have written a well-organized paper that shows their argument to support their stand. And then they get to choose what side they want to go with as their final draft. And they can feel comfortable and confident on the rewrite because they have everything already listed. This is how we strengthen writing. This is how we strengthen skill set. This is how we strengthen analytical thinking, critical thinking, right? And organizing your thoughts as well. Encourage respectful debate. Let your child defend ideas, challenge assumptions, engage in dialogue. I've been saying that too for the last 6 days. Children learn through discussions. We all learn through discussions. Literacy is not silent absorption, it is active engagement. Last but not least, cultivate gratitude. Occasionally remind your child we have access to books, access to time, access to guidance. These are privileges in many parts of the world. Gratitude deepens responsibility. Gratitude deepens responsibility. Here's our identity shift. You're not just raising strong readers, you are raising informed citizens, future leaders, community contributors, critical thinkers, next generation of innovators. Malala's literacy was not passive, it was courageous. She did not read to comply, she read to empower. We can never let that type of strength just blow to the winds. She did not write to complete assignments, she wrote to amplify her truth. That is the level of literacy that can be reached. It's not performance, it's influence. If today shifted your perspective, even slightly, hold on to that. Inside the Offer Us Homeschool Clarity Roadmap, we walk through designing literacy blocks with purpose, teaching persuasive and analytical writing, building critical thinking intentionally, and mapping your academic year strategically. So your child doesn't just learn to read, they learn to lead. If you're ready to design literacy that builds voice, courage, the link is always below. Join the community, and then we can further go into joining the Roadmap Intensive where we do this building. The link to the community is below. And, as I said, I've just started building that thing out. And so I'm trying to put all the pieces in. The perfectionist in me may be holding it up a little bit, but that's okay. It will get done. It will get done, and it will be in there for you. Because I think that what we don't want to do is skip over things that we have access to. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we need to shift the energy as parents, as advocates, as educators, to making sure we have intentional planning and intentional learning. And I'll close with this. Something that is true to me and dear to me is that the whole reason why, the UN and all these different elements of my past is what got me into education. But what keeps me here is knowing that these children have the right to have access. And that when we position it that way, we have to be intentional. And when we're being intentional, then we're forming things that are about them, for them, and with them always constantly in mind. And that when we're teaching them things connected to real life, right? And so one of these I'll do another quick story here. One time, we're doing a writing assignment, a writing project, and I told the students, "It's persuasive writing and informative writing together. I want you to inform me about this cereal that you are going to make. It needs to be a healthy cereal. You get to pick these ingredients, and the winner will let it be open to our Facebook friends. They'll get to vote on the best pitch of who had the best cereal. And then whoever that winner is, I will go ahead and have that cereal made." Connected it to real life. And the more we do that for our children, the more they grasp what this is and what this is for and what it's about, right? It helps them make the connections. And so many times I hear children through over the years, "I don't know why we're learning that. I'm never going to use that. It doesn't make sense to me." And they didn't say that in my class, but they would say that about things that they were in. And I'm saying that real clearly because, yeah, Miss Robinson, don't play the games with that. Is because I'm always saying, okay, well, guess what? If you had to learn this, these are future careers that actually use those skills. Do you know how empowering that is to them? Now it makes sense. Now it's not, I'm just learning it because you said I had to learn it. And I always tell them part of that is true because there's state standards, there's things that we have to do. However, I am going to do my justice for you as a teacher and tell you exactly where it is that these skills apply. Because you may find it more interesting that way. You may decide, let me research that. You may even decide as an adult, you want to become that. When we don't give them the tools, or sometimes in this case, the information, we do them a disservice. And that's not what education should be about. It shouldn't be about that. It should be fun. It should be discovering. It should be clear. It should be innovative. It should be hands-on. It should be a lot of different things. But chaotic and confused is not a part of that. And so may we never forget the access that we have and the potential that we can build together. And so this has been the Literacy Reset, and today we reset perspective. I'll see you guys tomorrow in episode 7.